Hey guys, Dominic here, and welcome to this week's episode of the Fad Show. This week, I would like to explain to you why I think this 2007 Porsche Cayman is the best sports car you can buy for under $20,000. So, for those of you who don't know the history of the Porsche Cayman, it's actually the big brother to the Porsche Boxster, which originally debuted in 1996. It was unveiled at the 1993 Paris Auto Show, and it was Porsche's number one seller until 2003 when the Porsche Cayman went on sale, which is Porsche's SUV for those of you who don't know. And this, the 987 generation Cayman, went on sale in 2005. It was actually developed in conjunction with the 987 Porsche 911. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people call this car the big brother or the twin sister or whatever of the Porsche Boxster. They just call it a hardtop version of the Porsche Boxster, but that's actually incorrect. This car shares more parts with the 911 than it does a Boxster. It's about 55% 997 Porsche 911 and only 40% Boxster. The benefits you get with this over the Boxster is it has thicker anti-roll bars, more harsh spring rate, and the top gives it 150% more torsional rigidity. And I really do think that this is the best car that you can get for $20,000. Some other fun facts with the 987 Porsche Cayman is I actually, as long as this car's been out, I always thought it was named after the Cayman Islands. But as it turns out, it's actually named after a cayman, which is actually a reptile that's in the family with the alligator. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And there's actually a model of the Crocs shoes or sandals, wherever they are, that was named Cayman, and um, and Porsche actually sued Crocs in Germany, and they weren't allowed to use that name in Germany for their shoes. I thought that was kind of funny, and I really do think that this is the best sports car you can get for $20,000. This is actually my personal car, and when I was buying this, I was shopping it against, E46 M3 at the time. The E92s were a little too expensive, but now you can get an E92 M3 for about 20 grand for a higher mileage, rougher one. Some other cars that might compete against this if you're in the market for a $20,000 sports car, from some of your new staples like the Fiesta ST, the Honda S2000, Fiat 500 Abarth. If you're looking a little bit older like this, I think E46 or E92, BMW M3. That being said, I think that I would be less worried owning a Porsche than a BMW. I mean, I have a BMW myself, but it's a little bit newer and has a certified pre-owned warranty. But I don't know. Porsche's reliability is second to Lexus, and I've had this car for 2 years, and I've had absolutely no issues with it. When I first got it at startup, it was smoking a little bit, and I found out it was the crankcase oil air separator. I replaced that for $70. I did a tune-up on it, which was about for I got new coil packs, which I didn't have to. I could have just replaced the spark plugs, but I upgraded to newer design coil packs. So for coil packs and spark plugs, it was about $250, and then every oil change depends on, usually AutoZone or whatever will have a sale on the Mobil 1 European car formula oil. So it's probably about $40 for that. Another $10 for the oil filter. You need a crush gasket when you're actually every time you change the oil, but I've been going to my local Porsche dealership and they'll give you one for free. I kind of feel bad not buying anything else from there. I would just order the oil filter from Amazon. I get the oil from AutoZone. But yeah, the driving dynamics of this car, I just don't think can be matched for $20,000, especially for someone like me where I had never experienced a mid-engine car before, and it adds a completely new level to your automobile enthusiast driving experience. Just the feel of the mid-engine cornering is just like nothing else, especially for someone that's never had it before. I think it's something you should experience once. I mean, I don't know, when I sell this and I move on, I don't know if I'll stay in that realm, but I'm glad I experienced it. And then just the Porsche just inputs are incredible. This car makes you a better driver. I never knew how to heel toe until I had this car, and just the layout of the brake and the gas and the feel of the inputs, it made it easy. And this car, I don't think you could ever miss an apex in. So yeah, with that being said, let's get this thing on the road, and I'll talk about more in depth about my driving impressions of this car. Thank you. Okay guys, found a twisty road and like to talk to you about my driving impressions of this car, and then also a few other things I thought were important to mention. So let's start with the inputs for this car. So the steering feel for this I think is absolutely perfect. I like that it's not super heavy like a BMW. It's not super light like a Volkswagen or something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like a heavy steering feel, but sometimes I feel like some BMWs overdo it a little much. But yeah, I think it's just right in the middle, like Goldilocks. Perfect, just right, if you will. And then from there, talk about the pedal inputs. Like I said before, like the position of the brake and the accelerator and the weight of the pedals is just very conducive for heel towing. Wasn't really necessary for that corner, but did it just because. But yeah, like I said, like I couldn't even do it before I got this car, and when I got this car, it was like right away I was heel towing like nothing. So and it actually taught me to do it in other cars that don't have as forgiving inputs or pedals. The clutch is kind of just like the steering, right in the middle, not super heavy, not super light, just right. So yeah, good job Porsche on steering feel and pedal inputs. But what the hell did you do with this shifter? I mean, come on, Porsche. You're the pinnacle sports car company, and there's like the one thing in this car that lets me down. I mean, don't get me wrong, it serves its function of changing gear, but it's just so sloppy. Like, you can hear it just wiggling around while it's in gear, and sometimes it's hard to find third and fourth for whatever reason, I don't know. But you get used to it, but it's just something that could be better. I wish it just had like a rifle bolt feel. But I guess that's why you could get a PDK if you want. I would never do that, but if you want to. And then just like the overall impressions for it, just the turn in on this car is near perfect. I think the only thing that I've really driven that has impressed me more on the initial turn in is the BMW M235i. And then mid-corner balance, just feeling that weight behind you. Like I said, if you've never experienced a mid-engine car before, it's just intoxicating. You just feel so much more balanced. I don't really have anything to compare it to. It just feels proper. Feels like it's the way it should be. I actually had the pleasure of driving a 911 Turbo S a while back, and like, yeah, that car off the line was like a rocket ship, and through the corners with the four-wheel steering and all-wheel drive, it just felt more capable, obviously, but it felt like digital and technology, and this just feels like analog and mechanical. Just gives you this visceral feel. You can feel like every undulation in the road, and just through the steering wheel and through your butt, and it's just, honestly, on a road like this, I almost prefer this mechanical, slower feel than to that new, like, digital, just crazy fast. And that's the other thing I like about this, is that you can have fun on a road like this and not have to break the speed limit. I mean, yeah, you might have a little bit more fun if you push it up a little bit, but you don't have to be out of control or insanely breaking the law to have fun. So, yeah. So overall, this car for $20,000, like, I think you can't find anything else that's going to give you that feel. Like, yeah, you could get an S2000, or you can get an E46 M3, which is also really good, one of my favorite cars I've ever driven, or an E92 M3 with that screaming V8. But I think if you live in an area with lots of corners, you want something just different and to experience a new brand or a new dynamic of having mid-engine, I think you can't go wrong with else. And that being said, like I just mentioned with the brand too, is just, I mean, I'm not the type of person that I don't really care about the flashiness of it, but I think this car, you know, gets a little bit of a respect. I mean, it's a $20,000 car, but it still has a Porsche badge on it. So there's that. Sorry, there's cars coming, so I'm gonna wait a minute and turn around before I go back up that road. But yeah, I used to take this car to Dallas, and if I went somewhere that had valet parking, it would pretty much 9 times out of 10 they would always leave it up front, which I can't understand. For $20,000, it's the same price as a Civic, and they leave it next to a Ferrari 488, which is 40 times the cost of this car. But if you're looking for that, there's that. It makes getting your car after a sporting event a lot easier. You don't have to wait in line. And then there's the practicality of this car, having the front frunk and the rear trunk. There's just a lot of space in this car. You'd be surprised. The rear hatch is huge, and I find myself usually using the rear hatch because it's easier to open, because the front frunk is kind of like a hood where you have a latch you have to release too. But you have both of them. There's plenty of space. Sometimes I always put my groceries in the front just because I like the novelty of it. You look ridiculous in the parking lot opening up your frunk and putting your stuff in there. Some people who don't know Porsches or cars that well will look at you like you have 3 heads. But yeah, overall, like, this car is just incredible. I mean, it's an insane value for money, and it's a car that I don't think will depreciate. Like, when I bought this car 2 years ago, it was worth $20,000, and it's pretty much worth exactly $20,000 today as it sits. So, you know, if you don't put a ton of miles on it, and, you know, even if you do put a ton of miles on it, the ones that are between 50 and 100,000, there's really not that much difference in terms of the cost. I'm going to stop here for a second and let this truck go ahead. But yeah, the cost is not that, I don't know what I was talking about. But yeah, between 50 and 100, there's really not that much difference in the price. They go from, you know, 50 clean one, probably 2021, to 100,000 mile one is probably going to be like 17. So not too much difference there. And I don't think you'll lose a lot of value on them. And then as far as using it as a daily driver with the front frunk and the rear trunk, I think you have plenty of practicality there. It also is okay on gas mileage. I mean, I just drove out here on the highway and I was getting 26 or 27 miles a gallon on the highway. I usually use this car in the city on the weekends, so in the city on the weekends I'll get, you know, 18, 19, but that's because I just go stoplight to stoplight. And then out here in the canyons, or I guess it's not really a canyon, on this farm road, I'm getting, you know, 23. So, not bad. I think if you don't have a crazy long commute, you'd be fine with the practicality of this car. Everything's pretty reasonable for it. The oil changes, like I said, are pretty reasonable. Insurance is okay, not crazy, not cheap. But yeah, I mean, the ride is, like I said before, is not super harsh. Like, it's compliant, so you could definitely drive this around town with potholes and not have to worry about breaking your spine. The nose is low, but it's not super low. My BMW, my F31 wagon scrapes its nose more than this car does. So yeah, I mean, for $20,000, I don't think you can go wrong. But I guess I'll just do some spirited driving for this last bit on this road and let you guys enjoy the sound of this flat 6. Sick of that intake nose over your left shoulder. Most of the time I drive this car, I don't even use the radio. I just open my window and listen to that. Alright, well, I'm almost out of the twisties. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to try and make some ones as far as some maintenance items on here and more in detailed cost to own for this. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun making this video, and I hope you guys liked watching it. Alright, I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you for watching.